Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. I'm Jeannie Ryce, your co-host. We also have co-hosts Dr. Tim Hayes and Michelle Pichet. We will share with you the wisdom of the first century Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. We offer tools and support 5 days a week. We will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love, in Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information about the forgiveness process, please visit www.whyagain.org. And now, welcome to the show, Mind Shifters Radio.
Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour, and today is Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. It is the 76th day of the year, and as always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered in my over 46 years of doing therapy. These tools are gratefully available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye, or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages, it says Start Here. It'll take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book is a narrative description of the primary tool in this work, called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 16 years now to improve the quality of my life, manage my emotions, and turn any negative emotion into an infallible guidance system to help me improve that quality of life and my relationships. You can also download the actual tool itself absolutely free. Just click on the PDF link and download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words, Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll be able to see the glowing heart icon. If you click on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app. It contains the Reality Management Worksheet process, an abbreviated version of that process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. If you do that, you can also then download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have called in and either been stepped through the worksheet process or given testimonials about how the application of that process in their lives has been tremendously beneficial, and or they've talked about and asked questions and learned about some of the deeper aspects of how a tool that is as seemingly simple can be as powerfully effective as this tool is. So we encourage people to do that soon and often, because when they do that, they might have a question or a comment. If you do that and you have a question or a comment, give us a call. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And if you call that number and press 1, it'll put a little question mark by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code. Today is the 76th day of the year, and we've agreed to do the Course in Miracles lessons from the workbook. I was not here to review yesterday's lesson, which was simply, the light has come, and you are healed, and you can heal, and the light has come. You are saved, and you can save, etc. So today, the lesson simply reads, I am under no laws but God's. I am under no laws but those laws of creation. And the commentary is quite lengthy for today's lesson. And the essence of it is, we have observed before how many senseless things have seemed to you to be the salvation. Each one has imprisoned you with its laws as senseless as itself. You are not bound by these laws. Yet to understand that this is so, you must first realize salvation does not lie there. While you would seek for it in the things that have no meaning, you bind yourself to laws that make no sense. Thus do you seek to move. To prove salvation is where it's not. Today we will be glad that you cannot prove it. For if you could, you would forever seek salvation where it is not, and never find it. The idea for today tells you once again how simple salvation is. Look for it where it waits for you, and there it will be found. Look nowhere else, for it is nowhere else. Think of the freedom in the recognition that you are not bound by all the strange and twisted laws you set up to save you. You really think that you would starve unless you have stacks of green paper strips and piles of metal discs. You really think that a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death. You really think you are alone unless another body is with you. This is insanity that thinks these things. You call them laws and put them under different names in a long catalog of rituals, and these rituals have no use and serve no purpose. You think you must obey the laws of medicine, the laws of economics, the laws of health. Protect the body and you will be saved. These are not laws, but madness. The body is endangered by the mind that hurts itself. The body suffers just in order that the mind will fail to see it as the victim, see that it is the victim of itself. The body's suffering is a mask the mind holds up to hide what really suffers. It would not understand its own enemy, that it attacks itself and wants to die. It is from this that your laws would save the body. It is for this you think you are a body. And today is a Wednesday morning, and that means that last night, Tuesday night, we had a support group. And in that support group, we had one of our members share the story that after our last Tuesday support group, she had a very difficult night, very little sleep, very little rest, and she woke up and her back was, quote, out. She couldn't walk right. She wasn't comfortable sitting down. She wasn't comfortable standing. She spent the next 3 or 4 days not able to function well. Her children had to help her to and from the bathroom. They made her a dinner or two. She had a very, very difficult time with a sensation of physical pain and discomfort. And so we talked about how the vast majority of that kind of back pain is at least aggravated by our mental emotional processing or lack of mental and emotional processing. This is highlighted by the work of Dr. John Sarno. So last night we decided to watch the video of the documentary on Dr. John Sarno's life. And it is exactly what this lesson from Course in Miracles is just saying to us. We think we have to observe the laws of medicine and the laws of economics and the laws of health and protect the body. But these are not laws, these are madness. The body is endangered by the mind that hurts itself. The body suffers just in order that the mind will fail to see it is the victim of itself. Dr. Sarno talks about how when there's an unconscious pain that some part of the mind has decided it needs to hide from itself, the physical pain arises as a distraction. It arises as the displaced energy that has not been resolved. And the mechanism that creates pain in that process is something that Dr. Sarno called tension myoneural syndrome. And with tension myoneural syndrome, his research shows how the slightest reduction in oxygen flow to tissue, as little as 10%, initiates excruciating pain. So when I'm carrying mental and emotional pain and suffering and tension in my body, in my mind, it is reflected in the body's energy system. And if enough of that tension shows up in a muscle group and that muscle group starts to spasm or contract excessively, it can cut off blood flow to tissue. And that's what causes the excruciating pain. Not a ruptured disc, not a pinched nerve, not a broken bone. In the vast majority of cases of chronic physical pain, Dr. Sarno's research revealed it is a matter of this tension myoneural syndrome, not a matter of an actual torn ligament, broken bone, pinched nerve, etc. But if we believe what the so-called medical experts tell us about these chronic pain syndromes, then we run off to all of their physical treatments, which might include alternating hot and cold, deep tissue massage, stims, electrical stimulation, implanting battery packs in our body to constantly stimulate nerves so that we disrupt the pain signals. And so this lesson wants us to know that is as unproductive as any other false belief in laws outside the laws of the Creator. There are no laws except the laws of God. There are no laws except the laws of creation. This needs repeating over and over again until you realize it applies to everything that you have made in your opposition to what actually is, to the Creator's will. Your magic has no meaning. What it is meant to save does not exist. Your magic is meant to save something that doesn't exist. And only what it is meant to hide will save you. The truth of the flow of life in creation is the only place you'll find salvation. The laws of creation can never be replaced. We will devote today to rejoicing that this is so. It is no longer a truth that we would hide from. We realize instead it is a truth that keeps us free forever. Magical thoughts imprison us. But the way the world actually works make us free. The light has come because there are no laws but the laws of the flow of creation. We'll begin with longer practice periods today with a short review of the different kinds of laws we have believed we must obey. These would include, for example, the laws of nutrition and immunization and medication and the body's protection in innumerable ways. Think further. You believe in the laws of friendship, of good relationships and reciprocity. Perhaps you even think there are laws which set forth what is God's and what is yours. Many religions have been based on this. They would not save, but they would damn in heaven's name. Yet they are no more strange than other, quote, laws, close quotes, that you hold must be obeyed to make you safe. There are no laws but the laws of creation. Dismiss all foolish magical beliefs today and hold your mind in silent readiness to hear the voice that speaks the truth to you. You will be listening to the one who says there is no loss under the laws of creation. Payment is neither given nor received. Exchange cannot be made. There are no substitutes, and nothing is replaced by something else. Creation's laws forever give and never take. Hear creation which tells you this, and realize how foolish are the laws you thought upheld the world you thought you saw. And then listen further. It will tell you more. It will tell you about the love of creation and what creation extends to you in each moment. It will tell you about the endless joy that creation offers, about creation's yearning for the fulfillment of its offspring, created as its channel for creation. Let us today open God's channels to Him. Let us open ourselves to the flow of creative energy and let it extend through us. Thus is creation endlessly increased. Its voice will speak to us, as well as the joys of fulfillment in that flow of creation, which its laws keep limitless forever. We will repeat today's idea until we have listened and understood. There are no laws but creations. And then we will tell ourselves as a dedication with which the practice period concludes, I am under no laws but creations. We will repeat this dedication as often as possible today, at least 4 or 5 times an hour, as well as in response to any temptation to experience ourselves as being subject to other laws throughout the day. It is our statement of liberty from all danger and all tyranny. It is our acknowledgement that creation is our source and that we are its offspring. Pam Grout has to say a little bit more, a slightly different way in her book, The Course in Miracles Experiment. And her chapter 76 is titled Crazy Mad Beliefs. She quotes Mark Twain as saying, "It's not what you don't know that kills you. It's what you know for sure that just ain't true." Pam writes, if you're a parent, your kids have undoubtedly accused you of TMI. It stands for too much information. Lesson 76, I am under no laws but truth, tells me that not only have I picked up TMI, too much information, but that most of it is TMFI, too much false information. Today I examine the strange and twisted laws to which I feel bound. The Course calls it insanity to believe that I must obey the laws of medicine, of economics, of health. To think I would starve without stacks of green paper strips and piles of metal discs. This is the height of madness. These ridiculous laws play a big role in how I experience life. They're like the kitchen junk drawer filled with a bunch of forgotten items, dried up magic markers, rusty scissors, old birthday cards from people I don't even remember, and keys that probably used to open something, although I'm not sure what. This lesson offers freedom. It asks me to clean out the junk drawer, to examine the mad beliefs that run my life. The list of laws that hold me prisoner is long indeed. I need 8 hours of sleep. Money comes from working hard. It's dangerous to talk to strangers. All of these false beliefs keep me a prisoner. That's why today I repeat in my head, not out loud, I repeat over and over, and especially when confronted with one of those preposterous laws, I repeat, that's not true, and no one can make me believe it. So, that's our offering for today from the Course in Miracles, and a little bit of an offering from our support group last night, in which we watched the documentary that's available for a very nominal fee at the website, all one word, alltheragedoc.com. The DOC, to help you remember this, stands for documentary. alltheragedoc.com. And I think it's $5 or $6 to watch it once. It's like $15 to own it or something. And we watched that, and it was very, very much in line with today's lesson from Course in Miracles, that most of the people who are in chronic pain are in pain because of mental, emotional issues that they are running from, or that they are denying, or that they are unwilling to look at. They are not in pain because of a damaged physical energy system. And yet, with the lack of willingness to look at that mental, emotional disruption, we stay stuck in the physical manifestations of pain. And one of the great contributions to us as people and the medical field, or the treatment of chronic pain, that Dr. John Sarno gave us, is the concept of tension myoneural syndrome. And the relief that can be obtained by processing and releasing the negative emotional states or energies that are tied to false beliefs is hard to believe until you've experienced it yourself. It is life-changing, life-saving. In the documentary, they talked about how many people had written and continue to write and talk to Dr. Sarno's daughter and his wife and tell them how Dr. Sarno's work saved their life, changed their life for the better. And Dr. Sarno's work is essentially challenging the false belief that the vast majority of my physical pain is caused by a disruption in the physical energy system. And when I understand how the mind and the body are not separate, and I understand how the pain is a feedback system that will let me know there is a problem. And once I've checked out the best that my society's medical system has to offer to make sure that I don't have a broken bone or a bone cancer or some kind of an internal bleeding or something, once I've checked that out and the pain remains, then I'm free to explore what is the mental, emotional connection here that's tied to the production in my energy system of this thing that Dr. Sarno calls tension myoneural syndrome. And when I figure that out and I tap into those emotional issues and I give voice to them or release them, the tension myoneural syndrome releases and comfort is restored. And I sit here talking to you today as someone who has directly benefited from that process, as absurd as it might seem. I know it seemed very absurd to me, and there was a John Stossel, his part of the documentary, and John Stossel, long before the documentary, had done his own investigative news report on Dr. Sarno, because John Stossel was one of the many people who was being treated by the standard allopathic care for chronic back pain. And he had been told for years that he needed to do long, slow stretches and not sit for too long and not stand for too long and spend time on his back with his knees bent, etc., in order to be free of the pain. And when I watched that documentary, I realized that John Stossel was talking about exactly the same stretching routines and mechanisms and alternating hot and cold and deep tissue massage and electrical stim that I had been told I needed to do on a daily basis in order to remain flexible and pain-free. And so I bought Dr. Sarno's DVD and watched it, and watched the John Stossel interview again, and it made logical sense to me, and it seemed ridiculous because my pain was so intense and had been for so long, and the only relief was, even though it was temporary and flighty, the only relief I got was when I did these exercises, these stretches, these therapies from the orthopedic, from the physical therapist, from the chiropractor, etc. So even after I bought the video and watched it, even after I'd seen John Stossel talking about the relief he'd gotten, it took me more than 3 weeks to be willing to stop doing all of those physical machinations to try to relieve the pain and discomfort, to give up the daily routine of stretching and to instead talk to the pain, talk to the stiffness, talk to my back, and be willing to journal and write and do Michael Ryce worksheets on this process rather than turning to the constant physical solutions. And I sit here today more than, it's probably closer to 10 years from the time I gave up all of those physical solutions, and I have almost no episodes of my back going out. I have almost no restrictions in motion and physical pain. And when that comes up, as it used to, I address it at the mental emotional level, and I find resolution within hours, if not within days, whereas it used to be weeks or months. When my back would, quote, go out, I knew I was in for multiple weeks, if not a month or more, of limping around and restricted motion and increased treatments. And it's now been well over 8 years, and I have not done the physical stretching daily. I have not done the alternating hot and cold. I have not done the deep tissue massage. And my physical comfort level is far more, my fluidity of motion, my energy level is far better than when I was doing all of those physical treatments for the pain. And when the pain comes up, when the stiffness comes up, when I get a stabbing pain in my back, I know I should do some worksheets. I should do some EFT tapping. I should find somebody who can test my energy system and do NET on it, the neuroemotional technique that uses knowledge of the acupuncture meridians and how those are directly connected to specific emotions. And I figure out what's the issue that's bubbling underneath my conscious awareness that is connected to the tension myoneural syndrome that's creating pain in my back. And with a few worksheets, a few tapping sessions, an NET session, whatever is available at the time, usually within a matter of hours and never more than a day or two, my comfort has been restored to my physical being, to my back. The pain is gone. So, our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and there's 28 minutes left to talk. How can we support you today? What's a question or a comment about the lesson for today, which basically mirrors what John Sarno was teaching us, that we create our pain and suffering by trying to believe in laws that aren't true, that create a sense of cause and effect where none exists. And in that, it keeps us from seeing the true cause and effect relationships that drive our experience, our life, our existence. 563-999-3581. Who's got a comment or a question? Who wants to hear a little bit more about today's Course in Miracle lesson, or Dr. John Sarno, or anything else we've talked about in the past 10 years? Susan, I see your hand up. I'm clicking away.
Yes.
Are you there?
I am. We just had our Zoom group, and the first part of it was spent discussing this miracles lesson. Our group consisted of 4 of us: Tim Bingham, Susan Bingham, Ellen, who may be listening or not, and Jenna Ford, who is a mediator and a virologist. Now, Ellen loved the lesson and understands that such things as supplements and exercise and vaccines are just part of the magic. They're not necessary. And she really gets that. And then we have Jenna, who's a brilliant woman, who said, well, but these viruses they're entities in themselves, and they love it when somebody refuses the vaccine, for instance. They can go infect and multiply in there and be spread around. And so we had this vigorous conversation. I feel as if I'm straddling, while I experience myself in a physical body, I'm taking my supplements and doing my Pilates, and I think John Sarno is right on, but I also, even Byron Katie said if she's in pain, she might take a Tylenol. So I'm a straddler. I wouldn't want to spread this wonderful miracles lesson around too much in this particular time, because so many of us are counting on lots of people taking that vaccine to get us back to some kind of an open economy and functioning society, and we're all believing in the efficacy of the vaccine. So there's the full range of my confusion right here, and I'd love to hear you talk about the dilemma of, I love it when Pam Grout said that adage, we need 8 hours of sleep. That's been a curse for me. It was very liberating to read this morning. I get 5 hours of sleep, 6 maybe. On a great night, I get 7 hours of sleep. I never get 8 hours of sleep, and I feel really good. But I've always thought, I need 8 hours, and if I don't, I'm going to die young and not be healthy, and I'll get diseases and all this junk. So it's a wonderful lesson, but I'm applying it in a healthy way and a not healthy way right now. Okay, I'll stop talking, and if you could say something about that, I would love it.
Okay, well, one point to clarify that popped up for me is when you brought in Byron Katie's work. And there's nothing in Dr. Sarno's work that says the pain that Byron Katie had with Fuchs dystrophy is caused by tension myoneural syndrome. He wouldn't say that at all. And if somebody came to him and they had, a fracture in their spine and, bone alignment that's about to cut a nerve off, or they had cancer in their back, he wouldn't say, oh, this is tension myoneural syndrome. He'd say, okay, here, get to the oncologist and get to the orthopedic surgeon and let's get this corrected. But when he finds through the scans that there's nothing in the scan, and with Byron Katie's work with Fuchs dystrophy, they can see deterioration of the cornea. They can see the thing that's causing the pain. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same. We're not talking apples and oranges there when we talk about we don't do anything for our physical body.
Okay.
And the other thing, we've talked about this before, you and I and Dr. Ryce has been, tapped into this. And what if everything is energy? And Michael Ryce says, yeah, we're going to have a party in the 4949 or whatever it is. And, hundreds and hundreds of years from now, because you're an energy system and energy is infinite. And okay, let's just say that's actually true. But in the meantime, before you have the ability to walk on water or drink an entire glass of poison and not feel any effects, you might want to eat some healthy food and take some vitamins. And when you've got pain, you might want a painkiller to, keep your system balanced enough so you can think clearly and do the next right thing. So when you reach that point of perfect enlightenment, feel free to pretend you don't have any physical effects on your body. Mm-hmm. But until then, it makes really good sense for most of us to question things and try them out, rather than just blindly adhering to what we've always been taught. And as far as this goes, anybody who wants to take this and say, okay, they're saying you don't have to believe in immunizations and inoculations, and you don't have to believe in viruses. Okay, but watch where that gets you. One of the things that I try and do with this work, and I try and mention it on a regular basis on the internet show and in the support groups, is let's stick to something that can be productive for us as individuals today. Even last night at one point in the group, I said, okay, enough of the talk about global issues and the global, medical professions and drug companies. Let's talk about what might be beneficial to the people on the call tonight. Right? And at this level of scale, when I'm in a culture where the medical profession has been completely overwhelmed at different points in time by the number of people who are infected with and have serious complications from coronavirus. So much so that, they're running out of beds to treat people with the more severe cases, et cetera. I don't want to be somebody who's going to ignore that level of reality at this level of scale, because I don't have the ability to wave a magic wand and make everybody healthy, or to provide extra beds, or to have a miracle cure for people who are on a ventilator. So until I can do any of that, I'm going to use the best information I've got and rely on the medical professionals that study those things and do the best things they recommend toward the end of, what you were saying, getting the economy back online, trying to restore some level of normalcy to our ability to be with friends and family. And what we're talking about here with Course in Miracles is some of these higher level spiritual teachings, some of the highest level spiritual teachings. It's just like when we talk about with Byron Katie's work. I am not suggesting that any one of us should be just like Byron Katie in terms of being able to say, I love everything. And yet, at another level of scale, it would probably benefit any of us who try to use the tools that Byron Katie found to help us question any painful thoughts we have. Does that mean we're going to be able to do it and have the shift in perception that Byron Katie did? No. That kind of shift in perception, I think you and Ellen were talking on the show not too long ago about how that's kind of a gift that comes to us unbidden. That's not something we earn by being sincere enough in our prayer or being a good enough little boy or girl, etc. It's just a gift when we get a shift in an enlightenment and clarity. And we can still use the tools that might help us see the benefits or the fruits of those shifts. We can use those tools as often as we're willing. It doesn't mean I'm instantly going to be transformed and become an enlightened being once and forever. But wow, you know what? When I was stuck in this negative thought pattern and I picked up the worksheet process and did a few worksheets and found tremendous relief, I was really glad I did that work. It really made a difference in my life for that day, that week, that month. So my short answer would be results oriented. Do what works for you. And if it works for you to be in denial and say nothing can hurt me and I'm not a physical body and there's no need for me to take a vitamin or eat any food or drink any water, if that works for you and you end up being healthy and happier, then fine.
That's
but
great.
If you're not at that point, then do what does work.
Good. That's great. Yes, I know you've been over this before. I needed to hear it again, and I hope other people on the show needed to hear it again. This is very helpful.
Yeah, it's for me. It's not about the politics, and it's not about my personal freedoms. Everybody can choose for themselves, and it is about the impact on our culture. There are many, many people who are they're going to have a long, hard haul to recover from the adjustments that these job losses and restrictions of movement and financial deficits that they are experiencing these days. And if there's anything I can do in my participation in the culture that makes that easier, that eases that up, I do that. Ever since this began, even though I'm not one who makes a lot of money, I have been donating every month to the food pantry in the Northern Illinois area because I learned years ago when we were looking for a charity for one of my business networking groups, I learned about the food pantry, and I learned about how if we donate money to them, they know what's really needed, and they have buying power that I can't match as an individual. And if I donate, $10 to them, they can buy $80 worth of food. Not only that, they can buy the food that they know in their pantry most often is that they're short of, that people want the most. And the item, whether it's, the diapers for the kids or the toilet paper for the household, etc., they can buy it at a greater discount because they buy in bulk, and they know what to buy to be of most use for my neighbors who may not be as fortunate as I am financially. So things like that, things like wearing a mask, things like staying in and only going from my home to my work, setting up my office so people can have sessions through video. All of these things are things I do, and I wouldn't do any of them if I read this lesson and decided I'm going to take it literally and say, oh, there is no such thing as a virus and I'm not going to be affected by that. That, to my mind, would be the ego, the rigidity of the ego trying to pretend that what's actual isn't actual. Because at one level of scale, as Guy Finley would talk about it, I can understand that I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. And at another level of scale, I'm a human being in a physical society interacting with other physical bodies, and what I say and do has consequences.
Right.
And I don't think it is disingenuous to be aware of those facts.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have one friend who's I have worked with her before, and she came on the radio show a couple of times ages ago, who told me that she's not taking the vaccine because she knows she is not going to get the virus, and she knows she is not going to be a carrier of it, so she's not endangering anyone else, because she does a certain kind of energy work with herself and a certain kind of meditation that has convinced her that she is just
immune.
She's immune, and she gave me a series of numbers to recite, and I even set it to music, which makes me smile, but it's my way of being able to remember them. A sequence of numbers that if it's the number of the coronavirus, and if you repeat the numbers 7 times, 3 times a day for 14 days or something like that, you too will be immune. Well, I said it to music.
Talk about magic.
Yeah, I know. But still,
what do you think Course in Miracles would say about that?
That's very interesting that they would say something. Well, yes. Well,
what do you think?
True.
Right now, just what would you think Course in Miracles would say about your belief that if you say a certain series of numbers 7 times in a row, X number of times a day, that it's going to protect you from a coronavirus? What do you think Course in Miracles and this lesson particularly would say about that?
I would say it's one of those laws that's baloney. It would say
it would say it's the magic that it's warning us about in the commentary of this lesson.
Wow, it's so interesting.
So it's just a different form of the magical thinking, and it's okay. It's okay, right? But I'm not suggesting that you spend any time or energy trying to change your friend's opinion about that. I'm just trying to help you see that if you want to look at what the Course in Miracles is pointing us towards, it applies in all of these arenas. So do what's practical for you, do what brings you comfort, do what's in concert with or in harmony with the people you live with or the culture that you live within. And hold loving thoughts, connect to your awareness of your connection to your source through the whole thing. That's the real message in this lesson for me is choose to focus on your true nature as love and your connection to that creative force. Refuse to be distracted from that.
I'm with you. I had a dog.
This lesson doesn't say do this or do that. This lesson says watch your false thoughts and beliefs. Watch the tension that arises when you buy into those laws. Watch what happens in your energy system when you understand you are under no laws but love. Love's laws, the laws of creation. Watch what happens when you identify and release the negative thoughts that you pour so much energy into, which create everything we're talking about, everything that Dr. John Sarno talks about with attention myoneural syndrome. You know, Course in Miracles lesson for me today is just saying, watch what you do when you believe in something less than love. Watch how it creates fear, tension, anger, pain inside of you. And if you watch it and you see that it's unproductive, then feel free to try something else. So, that would be my input.
That's excellent input. Very helpful for me is the internal reaction, the level of upset. That's the thing. That could take
that's
you
your
to
guidance
the truth
system.
every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your guidance system. That way you don't have to listen to Dr. Tim, and you don't have to listen to Michael Ryce, and you don't have to listen to Dr. John Sarno. You just listen to your internal guidance system, which is infallible. And depending upon where or when or how you read about it, you might hear something like, you know, it's a latent neural structure implanted in you by God that's there to break off the effects of your errors in thought and guide you to truth and happiness if you ask it to. It will not override your choice. So, questions, comments, reactions?
You got another hand up?
I would let you know if I did. We have 7 minutes left or thereabouts.
Okay. Another question then. I saw that Sarno film and I read the book, but this is a long time ago and I should get it again. The idea that if oxygen is lacking somewhere, probably due to thought processes that result in tension in the body or something, and I'm sort of filling in the blank here because I'm not sure I understand that. I would love to know how, I mean, there are two approaches. Of course, just breathing, tapping, and doing, the other approach would be doing the work. I have this chronically sore left arm, 3 years worth of sore left arm. I'm seeing an energy chiropractor who works very gently. I've been doing worksheets. I had a session with Michael 2 days ago that was very intense, and during it, my arm started to hurt really badly. And it doesn't hurt if I'm not moving it generally, but it began to ache. And the aching lasted for a day, and now the aching's gone away. But my question is, I feel as if I need some guidance into finding a way further into getting the oxygen in the arm, finding a way to do the healing. It hasn't happened yet. I've been doing the work, but obviously not doing it enough or right.
Well, you know, there's a part in the movie, in the documentary, and this is also a part of the actual clinical educational segment that Dr. Sarno would do in his office, where he says to people, you know, do this work and don't do all the physical jumping up and down and pretending, or not pretending, but convincing your mind that this is a physical problem. Do the journaling, do the talking to your body, etc. And if that doesn't work, see a therapist who's specifically trained in helping you uncover the unconscious dynamics that are most likely driving the tension myoneural syndrome. So you might need that. You might be one of those people, he says are about 5% of the people in his experience, that need work with a psychologist or a therapist is specifically trained in helping people uncover the deeper emotional, unconscious things that basically, the best working definition that I have for the unconscious is it's the part of my consciousness that a fearful part of my mind does not want me to see. It thinks it's being protective. It thinks that I don't have the capacity to survive it or to understand it or to cope with it. So there is nothing except my consciousness. And there are parts of my consciousness that I'm willing to see and parts that I'm not willing to see. So, especially if those parts of my consciousness that I'm turning away from, that I'm not willing to see, if they are related to traumas, that I've downloaded those belief systems as an interaction with things that I considered traumatic in my life, I might need, in quotes, I might hold off looking at those things until I've got a therapeutic relationship with somebody, so I feel supported, I feel strengthened, I feel safe in looking at things in my mind, in my memory, in my belief system, in my interpretations of life that have been labeled by me as too dangerous to look at, too overwhelming, too upsetting, too scary, too rageful, too painful. And you might be in one of those positions where whatever energy is stuck in the arm or somewhere in the energy system between the spine and the arm, where it's reducing function and creating the tension myoneural syndrome, which we experience as pain, the energy that's in there, that's your mental, emotional energy, might be related to some traumas that you have convinced yourself are too much for you to look at individually, in which case you could, enlist the help of somebody who's specifically trained to help you uncover the deeper unconscious, in other words, the deeper experiences you've had that you've labeled as too much for you to deal with. And that could be Michael, and that could be Jeannie, and that could be, anybody who will be willing to support you in doing the worksheets, as long as you're, if you're trying to apply the Dr. Sarno work and his awareness of tension myoneural syndrome, understand that the more you do the things related to physical manipulation and changing of physical energies, the more you're convincing your mind that the pain you're feeling has a physical cause rather than the mental, emotional cause. And it will just help you keep distracting yourself from the mental, emotional work that Dr. Sarno would say is going to be the only long-term solution to your tension myoneural syndrome.
You do that work too? You didn't mention yourself, but you do, don't you?
Yeah, we do it on the internet show every time we do a worksheet. We do it in the support groups. Yes. Yeah, it isn't any different than the work you'd be doing with Michael when normally when your arm is resting, you don't have any pain, and then you're working with Michael, and all of a sudden your arm starts hurting. That's what you know at that moment is you're close to something that's related to what's causing the tension myoneural syndrome, and it's stirred it up again.
Yeah.
So you're right on track.
Well, Okay. Well, that was 2 days ago, and I have done work on it, worksheets. I'm not getting to where I need to go, though, I don't think, unless it's just going to take longer and I should just keep going. I guess I want it.
All right. Well, that's probably the most useful approach right now. Right? Insisting that you be done sooner than you're done is probably not going to be useful.
Okay, I know it's 1 o'clock. So thank you so much,
yeah,
Dr.
it is.
Tim.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the call and the questions and comments. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Ryce.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. So